At the end of this video, you'll become at least 1% more knowledgeable about why Boeing's 737 MAX aircrafts keep falling from the sky, at least figuratively. On January 5th, 2024, we were all confronted with the terrifying news that a door plug from Alaska Airlines flight 1282 from Portland, Oregon to Ontario, California fell off as the aircraft climbed to an altitude of 16,000 feet above sea level. While social media was going agog with viral images of the aircraft's door blown open, a number of us were waiting for the NTSB and FAA to disclose what type of aircraft this was. And to no surprise, it was confirmed to be a Boeing 737 MAX 9. Over the last few years, Boeing has faced severe turbulence with respect to its 737 MAX fleet of aircrafts. But before we do a deep dive into why these planes appear to keep falling from the sky, it is important to look at the origin and history of the 737 MAX and how we got here. The 737 MAX is the fourth generation of Boeing's original 737 planes, which was first introduced in 1967. And for context, this is almost 60 years ago, and Martin Luther King Jr. was still alive. In developing the 737 MAX, Boeing essentially retrofitted earlier 737 designs with new engine variants for aerodynamic improvements to increase fuel efficiency, as well as airframe modifications for a better passenger flying experience. At least that was their value proposition. Another key selling point was that since the 737 MAX were essentially newer versions of a previous generation of 737 aircrafts, commercial airlines would save cost on pilot training because experienced pilots could fly the 737 MAX using updated airplane manuals and pilot training material. This was supposedly a great deal until October 2018 when Indonesia's Lion Air Flight 610 crashed shortly after takeoff, killing 189 passengers and crew on board. And then in March 2019, the world was again stunned to learn that Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashed in a similar fashion, killing all 157 passengers and crew on board. The common denominator here was that both aircrafts were Boeing 737 MAX 8s. These aircrafts would then be grounded worldwide and in the US for nearly 2 years. As investigations began, a lot was uncovered about Boeing's culture and how recent cultural shifts contributed to these plane crashes. First and most important piece of information was that Boeing was probably under pressure and they rushed to release the 737 MAX planes in a bid to compete with the Airbus A319 and A320 Neo family of planes, which were becoming popular in the commercial airline space. The commercial aircraft industry is a duopoly in which Boeing and Airbus dominate the market, and they're often in a fierce competition. Boeing had also developed a culture of outsourcing the design, production, and key supply chain processes, which was evident in the development of its 787 Dreamliner that experienced multiple delays. Roughly 70% of the 787 Dreamliner parts were built by outsourced suppliers. Boeing's plan was to produce sections of the jet that could be snapped together like a Lego at their Everett, Washington plant. The second reason attributable to the failure of the 737 MAX is the corporate leadership changes at Boeing. First, they moved their headquarters from Seattle to Chicago, and most recently moved it again to Arlington, Virginia. But the main culprit was Boeing taking technical and engineering decision-making responsibilities away from engineering leaders and transferring those responsibilities to people with finance and MBA backgrounds. These sort of changes were viewed by some as ways for the business units to maximize shareholder returns. And in the wake of the two 737 MAX crashes, Boeing's now former CEO resigned and was said to have received approximately $58 million as part of his compensation and pension benefits. Another reason why the 737 MAX has faced significant challenges is due to quality issues alleged by whistleblowers at Boeing's Charleston, South Carolina plant, where these planes are manufactured. In April 2019, the New York Times, The Daily Podcast, aired an episode titled The Whistleblower at Boeing, which highlighted problems at Boeing's Charleston plant, where some workers allegedly questioned Boeing's commitment to keeping safety as its first priority. Another episode of The Daily aired again in July of 2019 titled The Origin of Boeing's 737 MAX Crisis, where they discussed the dangerous software system known as MCAS, which was responsible for the 737 MAX aircraft's nosediving. The MCAS, which was supposed to resolve mid-flight angle of attack issues, was never fully disclosed to the FAA during certification, nor was it disclosed to commercial airline pilots who flew these planes daily. The combination of these catastrophic missteps led to Boeing and the US Department of Justice reaching an agreement in January of 2021 for Boeing to pay a massive $2.5 billion penalty as a result of the 737 MAX issues. We're now in 2024 and the door plug from Boeing's 737 MAX 9 aircraft has fallen from the sky, causing 170 MAX 9 planes to be grounded. From the outside, it is difficult to measure the extent to which Boeing's brand equity has been impacted or its reputation damaged. But one thing that is obvious is that travelers are now apprehensive or at least anxious about the type of aircraft they're getting on anytime they fly. It will be interesting to see how Boeing turns this around, but in the meantime, the biggest indirect beneficiary of this turbulence that Boeing is currently experiencing is Airbus. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss subsequent videos.